Yeah, Blizzard cooked with some tuning. So let's go over it. Short video, hopefully. But tier set bonus buffs, Caustic Spatter nerf. We'll talk about the nerf a little bit after. I want to deal with the tier stuff first, and then we'll go back. So our tier is bad. It's about 1.5% for the 2-piece and the 4-piece. So getting that buffed, good stuff, because it was really underwhelming. Now, what does it mean to increase the chance to trigger? I don't know. In raids right now, what happens is you can actually drop the buff pretty frequently in single target. For example, on Sikran, you can drop the buff. I only had around like a 70% uptime on the buff on my mythic kill. It sounds good, but then you have to realize it also has to ramp first because it stacks up to 10. If it's a 70% uptime on the buff in general, going then up to 10, not great, whatever. Whatever chance to increased means, I'm hoping that it's a decent buff. This is the big one, though. Vile Tincture's poison damage buff now correctly affects Envenom, Kingsbane, and appropriate hero talent effects. Now, this is, again, a very ominous wording, but I have some hints as to what they probably did. So this is Vile Tincture. This is the stacking buff that you get for the 2-piece. And the way that World of Warcraft works is everything gets added into a big list of what it affects. So this 1% poison damage modifies the damage of all of these things. So they added this giant list. It has a bunch of stuff on it that is correct. And they also added fate-bound coins and all that stuff. But you'll notice a lot of stuff is missing, right? No Kingsbane, no Envenom. That's what they mentioned. But, you know, it's not a full list. You know what is a full list, though? Our Mastery. Our Mastery is a full list. And our Mastery also buffs all of the stuff from the hero talents. When I'm looking at it, and I'm seeing Fate-bound coins, this is a very similar list, and I'm seeing Deathstalker stuff, and I read appropriate hero talent effects, in my head, I'm thinking that they just made it the mastery list. Which makes sense, right? Inherently, that makes sense. You got all the same stuff on there, right? You still got Nothing Personal and Double Dose, the old Azerite traits. It's the same list in that regard. You still got all your poisons. You still got instant poison, deadly poison. Kingsbane's on there. It's all on there. So it's very easy to just kind of pull the list, pluck out Garrote, Rupture, Crimson Tempest, and then move the list and plug it in, right? And if that's true, what we're looking at is we're looking at not only Envenom and Kingsbane, but we're also looking at a 10% buff to Corrupt the Blood. We're looking at a 10% buff to Deathstalker's Mark. We're looking at a 10% buff to Clear the Witnesses, Hunt Them Down. Singular Focus, that's a crazy one if I'm thinking about it a little bit, right? Might be some double dipping action going on, because it already kind of double dips. Regardless, all of this stuff is going, and this right here is also interesting. That's Vicious Venoms. This is the Vicious Venoms effect. So if all is going as I think it is, not only is it now affecting them, but the chance is higher. So if it, on average, is like 8%, right? Like, let's say it still drops off and whatever, and you're averaging plus 8% poison damage. You're going to get 8% better Vicious Venom damage, and 8% better on all of the flat damage from Deathstalker. Pretty good. You're also getting 8% on Envenom. Guess what Deathstalker buffs? Buffs Envenom. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I'm very excited for this. There's also another bug fix here. So you need 5 stacks of the 2 set in order to get your 4 set. It was bugged. It's doing 6. Now it's doing 5 again. Whatever. All good. These 2 lines here are looking to be around 4 to 5%. If my math is right and I'm looking at it and I think that it does what it does and it adds all this stuff, we're looking at like 5% in single target. However, they did nerf Caustic Spatter. This has been seen as like, oh, they nerfed Assassination. But I don't really agree. Buffing the 2-set proc rate, you get more uptime on the 4-piece, which is more bleed damage. The 2-set bonus is now buffing your Envenoms and your Kingsbane, which are your 2 biggest sources of spatter. They're also buffing Hunt Them Down, which spatters, right? You're hitting your marked target. Deathstalker's Mark is now doing more damage. So the things that are going into spatter itself are now stronger. Without this, you would be doing more caustic spatter damage. Kind of balances itself out. I actually think that it's probably going to be a little bit more caustic spatter damage than it was previously. I think this is a big buff in single target and a small buff in AoE. Even though this looks like a nerf, you have to think that the change here to the 2-set is a strict buff to everything that's going into caustic spatter itself. Very exciting stuff. I am very happy. We'll see exactly what happens. Obviously, we don't know until Tuesday when the patch comes out. I don't know how much of it can be data mined as well. Some of the stuff is like hidden behind scripts and nonsense and whatever. Hopefully, this list looks like this list, and then we're pumping, because then all this stuff gets added. That's my thoughts, at least. Short video. I have another one coming soon for raid stuff. I want to talk about raid stuff. I might record that right after this one, actually. And then we'll talk about Mythic Plus again. We'll revisit all the stuff. But if you guys have any questions, you want to see something, you want me to talk, you want me to yap, let me know. Bye!